this was gotten my first experience really talking to anybody during the selling process. So I definitely learned what you would have to say in an email. I had to send 2 to her to get her to reply to me. So I had the ability to send the first email with some information, second email with different information, and I was able to finally get her to reply. And it was kind of a good first experience because it didn't work out, but it definitely taught me something.
Together, Liz and I learned how to turn down a prospect that we contacted.
So this was an interesting one. Since we went in with basically not a presentation and just the numbers because he knew a lot of the facts about advertising with Ball State, he saw the numbers and basically ran the other way. He said that they're far too expensive and that the Star Press had numbers that were way lower than ours, and Scott and I just kind of froze, honestly, and thanked him for his time and said, we're just practicing, we're just students, sorry, probably did all the wrong things. But we walked out of there and with like our tails between our legs, told Sue about it, and we're gonna try to go back in and give him like more of the information that he wanted about like how people found out about the site. So hopefully that works.
So when I called Perry the first time around, I told him who I was, who I worked for, and I asked if he'd be interested in advertising with us. He said he was very interested. He would just need to know prices. I didn't have the prices with me at the time, so I told him I would call him again, and the second time around we set up a face-to-face meeting, and Liz told you the rest.
This was the first business that we actually walked into, so I think it kind of gave us a good idea of finding who was in charge and asking them questions about their advertising, even though this time it was just kind of an employee and we really didn't get much out of him.
So this is the first time we had to deal with rejection. After we went in and we didn't get any information, I called the manager, and he wasn't really like letting the wall come down, I guess. He just really was not very open about anything, and he just basically stated that he wasn't interested. And so I guess this one just kind of fell off too. Like, we started looking other places because we just kind of knew that we weren't going to sell him, and like he stated, he just wasn't interested.
I guess really the thing we learned from this is when not to call on bars. Besides that, there wasn't really much behind this learning experience, just another customer saying that the prices are a little too high for them.
What she said.
So this was probably my favorite encounter, just because we got to eat while we talked to someone, but also because Bob had a lot of interesting things to say, not even about our sales process, but kind of like the goals that he wanted to accomplish someday. And it was fun to get to sit down and talk to like the small business owner who's doing something in Muncie that hasn't been done before. But I think one of the most relevant things that he like mentioned to us about our selling is that we should have better transitions. Because Scott and I would kind of just, we would laugh about something else while like talking to Bob, and then we both just be like, so back to what we were saying, and they just weren't very smooth transitions. And yeah, that's definitely something that we'd need to work on.
So this was the first time we got to sit down for a long period of time and have a conversation with a potential client. And even though we didn't get to make a sale, we had to deal with him wanting to negotiate. But since we're just student representatives, we didn't have a bottom line and we couldn't negotiate anything. And so we would have to ask Sue and get back to him.
So we just got back from calling on outfitters, and unfortunately we weren't able to set up an appointment to meet with the guy that we needed to because he didn't take appointment. So what we had to do was just call when we wanted to head in, and so we called and he wasn't there. So this is like kind of the only time that we could go together. So we went in and we dropped off the presentation that we made for him, which you just saw, and we left a card and told the guy if Carrie had any questions he could call us. Just make sure that he got this information, and if he does end up calling us, it's probably, since it's the end of the sales unit, we're probably just going to pass it on to the people who are, selling for the thing and not just for the class. So that's kind of what we learned from this one.
So this was the first time that we got far enough to make a presentation to present to the client. Unfortunately, we could not present to Carrie because he was not in.